It's been an interesting year, but at least it's offered us some excellent thought-provoking reads. If you're looking for something different, something unusual, something with a hopeful ending, we got you covered. There's something for everybody in this selection of books. First up, we have The Authenticity Project by Claire Pooley. Julian Jessup, an eccentric, lonely artist and septuagenarian, believes that most people aren't really honest with each other. But what if they were? And so he writes in a plain green journal the truth about his own life and leaves it in his local cafe. This sets off a cascade of journal entries from others in the neighborhood and leads to unexpected connections because the cafe is run by the incredibly tidy and efficient Monica, who furtively adds her own entry and then leaves the book in the wine bar across the street. Before long, the others who find the green notebook add the truths about their own deepest selves and soon find each other in real life at Monica's cafe. The Authenticity Project is quirky and funny, heartbreakingly sad, and painfully true to life. It's a story about being brave and putting your real self forward and finding out that it's not as scary as it seems. In fact, it looks a lot like happiness. Next is My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. It's the year 2000. 15-year-old loner Vanessa Y. is thrilled to be singled out by her charismatic 45-year-old English teacher, Jacob Strain, who sees her as someone singular, someone worthy of his special attention, in a relationship that soon becomes sexual. 17 years later, we are at the height of the #MeToo movement, and amid the rising wave of allegations against powerful men, Strain has been accused of sexual abuse by a former student who reaches out to Vanessa, and now Vanessa suddenly finds herself facing an impossible choice. Remain silent, firm in the belief that her teenage self willingly engaged in this relationship, or redefine herself and the events of her past. This isn't your cliched trope about a high school student-teacher relationship. This is a portrayal of troubled adolescence and its repercussions, and it's thought-provoking and impossible to put down. It also raises vital questions about agency, consent, complicity, and victimhood. Next up we have Interior Chinatown by Charles Yu. There's a lot that Hollywood gets wrong, especially when it comes to race. Even in an era when stereotypes are being challenged, there are still few roles for an actor like Willis Wu, perpetually cast as generic Asian man. Will anyone but his mom ever see him as a leading man? Charles Yu is a screenwriter, and so it's fitting that this novel is written in the form of a TV script for a Law and Order style crime show. In this novel, television is a metaphor for the roles that we aspire to and get to play in society. The novel's main character, Willis Wu, is a Taiwanese-American man who longs to one day play Kung Fu Guy, but so far has been limited to playing characters such as disgraced son, delivery guy, striving immigrant, and generic Asian man. Can Willis ever land the leading role in his own life, or is he doomed to forever have a bit part in American culture? This novel is both whimsical and profound. Interior Chinatown is a Bildungsroman for a modern age. Next we have Recipe for a Perfect Wife by Karma Brown. What could a modern woman possibly learn about marriage and fighting the patriarchy from a 1950s housewife? When Alice Hale leaves her career in publicity in New York City and follows her husband to the suburbs, she's unaccustomed to filling her days alone in a big empty house. When she finds a vintage cookbook buried in a box in the basement, she becomes captivated by the cookbook's previous owner, 1950s housewife Nellie Murdoch. Alice cooks her way through the past, Baked Alaska and 5 Ways to Cook a Meatloaf, and she begins to notice remarkable parallels between this woman's life and her own, and she realizes that within the cookbook's pages, Nellie has left clues about her life, including a mysterious series of unsent letters. When Alice discovers a more sinister, even dangerous side to Nellie's marriage, it causes her to question the foundation of her own relationship with her husband and what it means to be a wife, fighting for her place in a patriarchal society. If I Had Your Face by Frances Cha. In Seoul, South Korea, four young women living in the same apartment complex develop a close friendship as they try to find their way in a culture that's defined by K-pop, consumerism, misogyny, unattainable beauty standards, and rigid class divides. This might seem like simply a portrait of female friendship in all its tears and triumphs, but in actual fact it's a razor-sharp examination of contemporary life for women in South Korea and even around the world, deeply rooted as it is in demeaning cultural norms, male primacy, and dwindling economic opportunities for women. Finishing up, we have The Love Story of Missy Carmichael by Beth Morey. Every once in a while you come across a book that changes you as a reader. Sometimes the transformative power of a character simply burrows deep into your heart and stays there forever. The world has changed around 79-year-old librarian Millicent Carmichael, aka Missy. Though quick to admit she has often found her roles as housewife and mother less than satisfying, Missy once led a bustling life driven by two children. But her husband is gone, her kids moved away, and she spends her days sipping sherry, avoiding people, and rattling around in her oversized, under-decorated house waiting for... what exactly? The last thing Missy expects is for two perfect strangers and one spirited dog named Bob to break through her prickly exterior and show Missy just how much love she still has to give. If you enjoyed Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine, you're going to enjoy this celebration of how ordinary days are made extraordinary through the jarring embrace of an eclectic community that simply won't take no for an answer. I really hope you enjoy reading these as much as I did. Happy reading!